a blue and green marble. We can get into your ear hole. And I like to be in your ear hole. It's fine. Audibly, that is. We talk about cannabis legalization, general cannabis news, and we'll throw in a side cocaine story, if, you've trained your Labrador to hide it in his helmet through the airport. I might want to, tell you about that. But at 420, we open a big fat bag of cannabis news. This Thursday's no different. It's kind of nice outside. We've had some bad boo-boo weather the past few days. So it's kind of nice. The snow's melted. And just saying snow's melted isn't great to say. Before me in the morning is Country with Trav. After me, Stinky Arts Music Mart. We got the mixtape. And then a metal show in the evening. And my still ADD brain still ain't went to, verify what in fact that's called. Because it's not Artemis Shrine. It's not that. So I got to find out what it is so I can say it. But there is a show in the evening. And, of course, every day of the week. Here at KRFF, we've got stuff that makes us the best independent radio station in the world as far as I'm concerned. I believe God put cannabis on this beautiful earth for us to use as we see fit. And I show him props. Mad props, indeed. Every Sunday at Antioch Church, 417 Main Avenue. Come hang. We do a 10 a.m. recovery class where the junkie people hang out. And I'll be there. I've got a badge, I'm like the number one junkie. Saved by grace. Amen. Anyway, 11 a.m. worship. I'm on stick duty. So I'll be flailing this Sunday. And it's supposed to be almost 50. So I think the Lord knows what he's doing. Anyway, this show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. 1,200 mgs of CBD flung into a lotion mixed with nothing but the stuff you would want outside your body for whatever ails you out there. Black Cottage Alchemy got you. Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. Now, like I said, you're listening to Radio Free Fargo 95.9. It's community radio. You a business owner? You a manager? Nonprofit organization? Runner? Considering advertising? Why not learn what underwriting is on a nonprofit community radio station instead? To learn more about what underwriting is, please contact us at our website, www.radiofreefargo.org, or at a profile on Facebook. Why not let listeners know that you support the community by supporting a community radio station? All right, but again, we're going to talk about cannabis. It's kind of an interesting week, and it's kind of neat how this kind of plays out, because next week is Veterans Day, and so I decided I'm going to recognize vets today, because we should recognize our vets every stinking day. Can I get a holla from the people in the group? And I've advocated cannabis because I know it works. I utilize it. You don't have to get crazy with THC. I mean, there's so many options out there that, it's not about potency. It's about functionality in this case. You can get the 1-in-1s. You can get half THC, half CBD. You can even get 3-in-1s. You can get 1,000 meg of CBD and with like a little something of THC. So so medically, it's just great for vets and PTSD. I mean, one of these days I'll probably, he don't know it yet, but I'll probably try to get my brother on here. PTSD is plaguing his poor little brain. And as it will when you go through some things that are shocking to it, for prolonged periods of time, that can wear you down. And then the meds that the VA provide are just, they just strip your personality, but basically keep you from shooting up a mall, but it basically keeps you from saying I love you to your kid though too, so it's like, you've got them on lockdown in the brain, but they forgot that they should be expressing love towards their mother. So those aren't great. So, cannabis, like I said, it'll reduce the night terrors. I've heard from people who utilize it for that. But just the brightness of your day, your personality gets to come out, and you're still, functioning, but it helps. And so shout out to the vets. We got several articles vet related. So we're going to talk about that. Again, I wouldn't be talking here if it wasn't for somebody that risked their life to go over and do whatever they do. So, and everybody going to be doing it next Saturday. So I figured, hey, I'm doing it today. So it's Veterans Day here at KRFF, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We've got several articles. They're good ones. So we're going to talk about that. Shout out to the vets because they deserve everything we can do for everything they've done. Feel me? And so why not get into some music now? And this is an instrumental set this week. I don't know how that happened, but it did. I mean, I really wanted to play Weird Al again, but you know what I mean? So this is brand new. No, it's not. Pushing on. KRFF. Welcome back, everybody. Pushing on. The Quantic Soul Orchestra from 2003. You're welcome. Unless you're one of those, I gotta have words to my grooves, then so sorry, playa. Anyway, KRFF 95.9, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming everywhere you at. We can get at you here at this beautiful radio station. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. It's a beautiful day here in Fargo. It is very beautiful indeed. I don't know where you're living, but if you got the warmth in your heart, then it's a nice day in your brain. Then it don't matter where you at. And here at 420, we're going to open a big fat bag of cannabis news for all of us to share and smell. So stick around for that. After me, Stinky Arts Music Mart going to be in the building, stinking it up. And apparently it's a pleasurable smell, and so we all embrace it, don't we? Anyway, Stinky Arts Music Mart, right after me. Then you got mixtape and then a heavy metal show. Whatever that means. One of these days, I promise I'll find out exactly what it's called. However, I was very saddened to find out that I had made up the title because it was so fun to say. But it is what it is. Now, I'm going to break you off a little something here, pre-intermission song, like I like to do. This is from Fox 9. Minnesota's new cannabis agency wants input on rules. Now, my knee-jerk kind of thought on this is it's either two things. They're lazy, right? They don't even know what rules they're supposed to have. So it's like, well, why don't we just make you give us rules and then we'll just shoot them down, or we'll be like, oh, we should have thought of that. Let's adopt it. So it's either they're lazy, or, because I got to believe, they like to pretend that there's outside, influence in policy making, especially when it comes to a highly contested subject like cannabis legalization, where if they listen to me, certainly in North Dakota, well, first of all, it'd be legal right now. First of all, if you were a vet, it'd be free for you. Ain't no vet in North Dakota got to pay for cannabis. That's how I would do it. In fact, I would think any service related for vets, like the VA, shouldn't have any fees related to it. They already paid the price as far as I'm concerned. And I think that's the mentality we should all have for our veterans. They already paid whatever copay they need to pay to get their heads right. They already took care of that. So those kind of the rules, again, and we'll talk about it. The Senate did vote on VA accessing medical cannabis, which I think is a big deal. And I don't know the ins and outs. So it might be one of those, Charlie Brown and the football thing. But it looks to me like they've removed any sort of federal, blah, 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 that keeps them from accessing it through the VA. And I don't know. It could be wrong. We'll read that article at 420. But in Minnesota here, as they move forward with legalization, they want your input on its rules. And now, what are those rules, So you can take a survey. You can go to Fox 9 and type in Minnesota's new cannabis agency, and you can take the survey if you want. I'm not so sure I'll be getting around to it today or ever, but, if you want to take it, go ahead. I was thinking about doing it online here and just giving crazy answers to the, to the public. Aside from the survey, officials plan to host meetings in the future on crafting cannabis rules. Now, that one would be kind of fun. It would also take input when rules are drafted. So when the cannabis legislation was passed in Minnesota last May, officials expected it would take about 18 months for retail sales to begin in the state. Last week, the office announced it had finalized contracts for software for licensing applications with the goal of getting the system up and running in 2025. Currently, cannabis is legal to possess and use in Minnesota, as most you know, at least under state law. Currently, cannabis sales are only allowed in Minnesota on tribal lands as the state works to set up licensing. So I say shout out tribals. Shout out my fellow tribal homies. The only tribes that have set up sales so far are the Red Lake and White Earth Nation. And then when you click on this article, they've got a strain that they provide there, a sativa strain. It's got kind of a swear word in it, and I can't do that anymore. I'm bound by some sort of Christian rule that I shalt not profane out of my blowhole. So I won't. I mean, even if I can, I'm not going to. I spent so many years saying so many things I shouldn't. You know what I mean? For the last, whatever I got left on this blue and green marble is cuss free. And then I get to the end and it's like, well, hey, man, why'd you stop? You could have kept it up. I'm good. I've said enough stuff that would make stinking what's his name blush. Andrew Dice Clay. I've said stuff that'll make Andrew Dice Clay blush. Holla if you can hear me. So anyway, Minnesota, they want you to think that they need your help coming up with the regulations and the T's and the dots and the crossing of whatever. But until then, we're going to play Open Season by Oregon. Again, this is minus stinking lyrics. KRSS. Yes, indeed. Oregon Open Season here on KRFF 95.9, RadioFreeFargo.org, streaming everywhere on this blue and green marble we can get to you. Drummer's Journey is being underwritten. Programming, 95.9 Radio Free Fargo, is being underwritten by Drummer's Journey. Drummer's Journey offers percussion instruments, hardware, electronics, accessories, and more. They have full service for drummers, including repair, custom building, and lessons. Drummer's Journey is located at Highway 10 East Mall in Moorhead, Minnesota. Their hours are Monday through Thursday, 11 to 7. Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 5. Sundays, noon to 5. For more info, check drummersjourney.com. They have a profile on Facebook. Well, let's get our bag of cannabis news open, shall we? Let's do it like this then, huh? Let's all get together, shall we? It's time. Hello, everybody. How you doing? It's me, the same guy that you heard just a little bit ago. It's the same me. Nothing happened. I didn't leave. Nobody else came in. So, just in case there was some confusion, when I said bye, I didn't mean I was leaving. Okay, let's talk about cannabis news, shall we? Cannabis moment. Now, I did some quick math, and I always told everybody I couldn't be a drug dealer because 2 + 2 = mine. Math kind of forsook me. Math skills forsook this brother. But anyway, DEA wants nearly 1 million grams of Delta-9 manufactured for research next year in latest Schedule 1 quota hike. Okay, so I divided 28 into 1 million, and it's like stinking 37,000 ounces, which sounds like a lot for research, but I don't. What do I know? And I think as long as the DEA wants nearly 1 million grams for research, it shines, expedience on the availability down the road. Because with that much, you're going to come up with the answers we all know. That it's therapeutic and it has medical benefit. And so they'll have to go, yeah, we suck. We've done horrible things. But at least they're, researching. Now, if they find out they were wrong and they cover it up, that's another issue. So the DEA is looking to substantially build up domestic production of Delta-9 and other cannabinoids. Also, apparently, they're all about that DMT and stinking another one that I can't think of. Oh, Ibogaine, which when I think of Ibogaine, I feel like, I don't know why I think about balding people, but maybe that's Rogaine. Maybe it's Rogaine. I don't know. Ibogaine, Rogaine, propane, it's all the same to me, bruh. I don't know. And I don't even know if you can buy it. Can you buy it? I mean, is it in town? I'm sure Mexico you could grab some ibogaine. So, DEA proposed increasing its 2023 quotas for cannabis compounds and psychedelics like psilocybin and ibogaine. The agency said in a notice published in the Federal Register on Thursday that it plans to continue that trend next year. So now, in 2021, they just took like 384,000 grams. Stayed that way in 2022. And then it went up to 2024. They're going to have 900,000, almost 1 million grams. So that tells you something, and it tells you that, they have been looking at it for several years. The agency so far is keeping the psychedelic quota the same. The proposed limit is 15,000 grams of psilocybin, 24,000 grams of psilocin, which I wonder what that is if there's no B in there, and 150 grams of ibogaine, which again, I don't know. But apparently they're looking at DMT, LSD, Molly, mescaline. There's been a significant increase in the use of Schedule I hallucinogenic controlled substances for research and clinical trial purposes, which is cool. DEA has received and subsequently approved new registration applications for Schedule I researchers and new applications for registration. So I would imagine that we'll see, they're going to get it. This is like that ground floor, like they'll get it. Now, MJ Biz Daily, a Republican-led federal cannabis legalization effort, reappears in Congress. And her bro is Matt Gaetz, I guess. So it's this lady, Nancy Mace. She's from South Carolina. And she's teamed up with Matt Gaetz, which is also a Republican, which they also want cannabis, but they just called it something. It's called the Controlled Substances Act. And most other regulatory questions would be left to individual states. Capitol Hill observers expected Mace to reintroduce the bill earlier in the session. However, Mace voted with 7 other far-right Republicans to oust, that guy. So there's signs of friction between Mace and House leadership, and so they don't know. And now prospects under the new speaker are not rosy, given that Johnson has long been opposed to marijuana reform. The conservative Louisiana Christian has voted against every reform bill during his tenure in D.C. So, it's just too bad he couldn't see that, he's got to be against Big Pharma. So it shouldn't be just, And again, I believe all that stuff we had to have been using back in the day to get here. We didn't have Purdue in the 1200s. And I get survival of the fittest. Like, if my genes were stronger than your genes, well, then the Johnsons moved ahead and the ne'er-do-well stayed in the grave. His genes didn't procreate and continue to flourish. So, yeah, I get maybe nature of the fittest, but still, there wasn't acetaminophen. There wasn't amoxicillin. There had to be something. And some things are preventative, and you just use them, and it helps you naturally. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. I think this article's stupid, so I'm going to keep moving. And Cannabis Now. This is Susan Barron. She did a mixed media series helping destigmatizing veterans' PTSD. One of the worst nights of Susan Barron's career came a few years ago when she was in Manhattan to unveil her mixed media art series, The Invisible. Military veteran portraits adorned with paint and text comprised the collection, which Barron designed to highlight veteran struggles with PTSD. Just before the show, Barron's phone rang, and she got a call from a mom saying one of the people that she'd taken pictures of had taken his own life. Nearly 3 million service members have deployed in support of the global war on terror since 2001. Of those who served in Iraq or Afghanistan, between 11 and 20% now suffer from PTSD. These glaring statistics have left an interminable trail of suicide victims in their wake. Individuals like Barron's friend who quietly endured the invisible wounds of combat, personal loss, or sexual assault. 22 veterans per day. That just sounds like a lot. The suicide statistic has circulated extensively since such data first reached the public sphere. In 2020, the Department of Veterans Affairs reported 6,146 military vets died by suicide, an astonishing 17 per day. And while that number amounted to the lowest total since 2006, any semblance of empathy would suggest it stands at 6,100 too many. So it was learning about this epidemic that inspired Barron to create Depicting the Invisible, an exhibit. Since the launch, it's been everywhere. She's grateful these very brave men and women share their stories. I wanted to shine a light on this epidemic of PTSD and suicide and help break down the stigma. They're heroic, they're elegant, Barron says. The works also proved to be conversation starters, eventually becoming a subject of an NPR podcast and award-winning short documentary of the same name. So, Shattering Stigmas has also opened the door to a more expansive network of PTSD treatment for vets. Cannabis principle among them. Ryan Cowley may not be one of Barron's subjects, but his story, like a myriad of veterans enduring the trials of trauma, is remarkably similar. Life after the service proved difficult. Post-traumatic stress impacted his ability to connect. Depression and anxiety became a viciously cyclic norm. His attitude and behavior soured, and in turn, his marriage and personal relationships eroded. So months of anger management, behavioral therapy, all the pills, and subsequent launch of the cannabis and PTSD advocacy company Combat Cultivators. In 2016, finally, he'd experienced a real transformation. I had to convince my wife about using cannabis, but almost instantly she was able to see the change in my attitude. I was able to give more love and be more compassionate, and I could focus on tasks and not be consumed by negative thoughts. See, so negative thoughts, see, now that's all good stuff, right? If cannabis can allow you to be more compassionate and show more love to your loved ones who never really did anything to deserve it, really, it's just war does what it does. And severe traumatizing events does what it does. And a lot of times they shut down. They're not able to do any of that. And the same thing with those psych meds. And even those strong opiates, when we talked to that lady in the mall, and man, I forget her name now, but she was able to get dressed and have a life with cannabis, and the other stuff just kept her snowed over and at home. Probably watch it Oprah or something. So this is good news. And so shout out again to the vets. Now let's keep cruising. Now this is from Cannabis Moment. Senate votes to allow VA doctors to recommend medical cannabis to veterans, similar to House passed version. The Senate has approved a bill that includes a provision to allow doctors at the U.S. Department of Vets to issue cannabis to veterans living in legal states, setting the stage for conference with the House, which has separately advanced similar language in its own version. So, senators approved the military construction, VA, and related agency measure with the cannabis amendment. So, that is good. So, here's what the section says. None of the funds appropriated or otherwise made available to the vets may be used in a manner that would interfere with the ability of a veteran to participate in a medicinal marijuana program, deny any services from the department to a vet who's participating in such a program, or limit or interfere with the ability of a healthcare provider of the department to make appropriate recommendations. Well, that's good news, I think. I mean, there's a lot of mumbo-jumbo there, but it sounds all right. Now, what do we got? Now, this is, what a weird story this is. Okay, this is from MJ Biz Daily, but there's many articles on this. Missouri regulators lift recall on nearly 15,000 cannabis products. So they recall it because they say whatever they say. It's too high, it's got mold, I don't know, it'll slap your grandma, I don't know. So they recall all this stuff. Okay? Missouri regulators have notified cannabis operators that thousands of cannabis products that had been recalled in August have been released for sale. So they're good. So it's like, well, what? So the Department of Health and Senior Services, which I don't know why seniors are in there, have released nearly 15,000 products that were under recall. So that's about a quarter of the 62,000 cannabis products that have been under recall. So I don't know if they've went and looked at them. I don't know what they're doing. The infused products contain distillate manufactured and sold by Missouri-based Delta. The agency warned holders that the remaining products must be quarantined until the investigation is complete. The remaining product will remain on recall and may have an administrative hold. So the whole thing has cost them millions of dollars in lost sales and inventory. I don't know. It's like you get it back. All right, so the crazy cops in Texas are at it again. This is from High Times. Report, Texas law enforcement won't stop raiding hemp shops. The subtitles, Texas cops have absolutely no chill when it comes to hemp. Okay, so when Congress legalized industrial hemp in 2018, it prompted a tidal wave of CBD-based products while also eliminating a front and the war on drugs. And everybody knows all of a sudden there's THC 8s and 6s and 4s. And I can see cops thinking that they're pulling it over their wool, pulling the wool over their eyes. And, that they're going to bust them anyway. So in Texas, some local law enforcement officials continue to fight the old battle. So the story details a recent raid at the store Venom Vapors, where cops, building inspector, and even a local fire marshal showed up one morning earlier this month saying they had received a tip about narcotic sales and crime at the business and were there to check it out. So, of course, it was a shock to the store owner. And he recounted the unwelcome visit to the Observer. So he says these authorities managed to find some minor violations, like extension cords that were plugged in where they shouldn't have been, for one example. But the cops were more interested in some of the products the business was selling, namely hemp products like Delta 8, 10, and THCA. Many of the products Venom Vapor sells comes with a certificate of analysis, which lists the constituents and shows that they are compliant with the state law. A detective told Brown he scanned the COA for one of the shop's Delta Dab products, and it showed there was way too much THC for it to be legal. See, now check this out. So Brown disputed that claim. He said, but the cops said the COA showed the product had something like 80% THC. Brown tried to explain that the COA showed it was within the legal limit of Delta 9 and that the 80% was actually the Delta 8 content. Okay, so just let your brain kind of percolate on that a little bit. What is this thing called? A certificate of analysis. You can scan it. There's a tool you can shine on your grass and it tells you what's in it. What kind of magic stick is this? How do I get one of these? I want a certificate of analysis zap gun. We all should. And Venom Vapor should buy a whole case of them because apparently they're getting hemmed up. But here's the thing. It's Delta 8. And Delta 8 was covered under the hemp bill. See, now, and cops don't like to be made fools of. Right? I mean, you make fun of a cop and he can pull you out and rip you apart. Right? Chances are when cops pull you over, you got to be on your best behavior. Right? They don't like to be made fools of. They really don't. And a lot of them are just secret, 5th grade bullies either. Also. So they're looking for a reason to jack you up or light you up, as they say. But you tell them, hey, listen, it's not 80% THC 9. It's 80% THC 8, and that's fine. It's like, well, what's the difference? And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there isn't much of one. You still fail a test. It still kind of works, and if you do way too much, you can be a little anxious. So, I don't know. So, and here's the thing. That's when things went kind of sideways. They didn't take the certificate of analysis for what it was. They instead turned it around and used it against us, which was very alarming. So, in a press release, the cops explained its version. Okay. On Thursday, detectives with the Special Investigation Division, they conducted a special detail at this place due to crime and narcotic complaints. And again, who is complaining about Delta 8? Right? I don't buy it. I think that's one of them things they make up so they can go in. During the operation, they arrested 7 individuals, all under 1 gram, over 1 gram, under 4. Okay, failed to identify fugitive, failed to ID, walking in the roadway, resisting arrest, search or transport, and felony warrant for debit card abuse. Now, these are your typical walking in the dark for busting things. These guys are grabbing at straws. Failed ID? Huh? Walking in the roadway? I mean, all these things by themselves would always be kind of just let to ride. I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be in the roadway, whatever. But come on, it's a little excessive. Okay, so on Friday, they went in again with the assistance of the killing fire marshals. During the inspection, illegal narcotics were displayed inside the business. A narcotic search warrant was executed. Detectives seized 120 grams of THC products, 56 grams, gambling devices, computer towers, 6 gambling ledgers, gambling paraphernalia, and $36,000 in cash. So I don't know. Dallas Observer said raids like the one that occurred at Venom Vapors have cropped up around Texas in recent months. Brown claims the police used the COA to secure a search warrant, but if he thinks the COA had been presented accurately, the police wouldn't have been able to get the warrant. See? So they tell him it's 80% THC, but it's not. It's from the Delta 8, and that's allowed. So they took the cash, of course, and 8 gaming machines that they say were being used for illegal gambling. Brown said machines are also compliant with state law. See? So you got this. I mean, this is like Bloods and the Crips right here. And we need to keep cruising. I'm going to just start reading titles. Ohio cannabis legalization backers outraise opponents 3-1. The coalition to regulate cannabis like alcohol stomped opposition group Protect Ohio Workers and Families. Because again, it's just futile. Okay? Cannabis moment. Letting people legally buy CBD significantly reduced opioid prescription rates. Isn't that good? And we'll talk about that in a little more. Okay, now here's another story, cannabis moment. Missouri spends $17 million in cannabis revenue to fund veteran services, drug treatment, and legal aid. And I feel like we should be doing that here. I feel like we should legalize it recreationally just so we can take care of our vets in the state. Nearly $17 million is being routed to programs aimed at vets, health, drug treatment, legal aid. So $4 million to agencies in November. I'm not going to read all the boring stats, but shout out misery. Now, this is kind of a wild story. Cannabis moment. Bud tender at New York City's first legal cannabis store jailed. And when you get jailed in New York, man, you go to Rikers, bruh. Wait, what? I mean, I almost want to get in trouble for a vape pen just so I could go to Rikers for a couple days. I'm an idiot. So, an employee of the city's first legal cannabis is being held in Rikers Island on a cannabis-related felony charge in a striking example of how cannabis, despite being illegal in New York, can still drag people into the criminal system. So people pulled this 33-year-old in Brooklyn over October 11th. He was driving to a friend's house after a shift. He's the lead bud tender at Housing Works Cannabis. They found he was driving without a license and that he had a warrant against him in Pennsylvania. Charges there stem from several cannabis-related charges he was arrested for back in 2021. His fiancée said that he had left his license at home. A little mistake was made, but he was fixing it. He noticed that Georgia made trips back to Pennsylvania to deal with the charges there, but missed a hearing after one of the dates moved up suddenly, and it was at a different address, whatever. So, more than a week later, George is still being held there awaiting extradition to Pennsylvania, where he's facing a felony charge for possession with intent to distribute cannabis with 6 misdemeanor charges, including a Dewey for a Schedule I drug. So that's crazy. You know, this is a good dude. Crazy story. New drug legalization handbook from Coalition of Advocacy Groups offers policy ideas for post-prohibition world. We'll keep cruising. Because I want to tell you about this, and this is awesome. All right, if you've been zoning me out till now, tap in with your brain for a second. It's from High Times. Major drug test supplier. Oh, this is awesome. I love saying this. Major drug test suppliers, people, to stop testing for cannabis, prioritizing fentanyl. So check it out. They're going to take. Okay, let's read. I'm getting excited. So you know that updated screening, that screening panel? If you light them all up, you need to have your head examined. But you never wanted that one with THC to light up. You never wanted that one to light up. They're taking them away, people. No more cannabis panel on the screening panel, y'all. That is, I can't tell you how awesome that is. for mankind and for society. All right? Psychmedics, a Massachusetts-based producer of drug testing kits, announced Friday that they would be launching a new 5-panel drug screen, which will shift the spotlight from cannabis, I'm excited, to the paramount threat of fentanyl, amid a nationally changing legislative landscape with regard to cannabis laws and continually skyrocketing rates of fentanyl overdose. Psychmedics, which by their own admission manufactured the first viable hair test in 1986, said Friday that the way drug tests are currently performed are outdated and do not address the needs of the employers. Current drug tests are also not great at detecting fentanyl compared to traditional opioids. As we grapple with the ongoing labor shortage and with marijuana's legal landscape evolving in 49 states, it is clear that the time for a change has come. Traditional 5-panel drug tests, rooted in a 4-decade-old paradigm, have failed to evolve to today's drug market and are unable to detect the rising drug fentanyl. So they're going to just, it's funny, why can't you just do a 6-panel screening, right? So according to the press release, the new drug screening panels are 25 times more effective at detecting opioids, 23 times more accurate in identifying coke, and 13 times more adept at pinpointing amphetamine use. Now, I wonder what that means. Does that mean you no longer have 72 hours? Right? If it's out, it's out. Something shouldn't be more effective if it's science, right? So I don't know about that. That sounds kind of funny to me. We got to keep pushing, though. You listening to Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I get in here every Thursday, 4 o'clock, 4:20, open a big fat bag of cannabis news, and this Thursday's no different. I'm about out the door, y'all, and you missed it, but, I'll be in next Thursday. Georgia pharmacies begin selling low-THC medical cannabis oil. And I think that's awesome. CBD with a little bit of THC has done me wonders. Now, let's talk about this last thing, and then I'm going to bounce. Drug decrim law takes effect in Australia, Capital Territory. I just wanted to tell you the things and the policies here. Okay? The fine is about $64, could be waived if a person voluntarily completes the program. Okay. All right, so here we go. Cocaine, you can have 1.5 grams, is fine. Heroin, 2 grams, is fine. Now, methamphetamine, 1.5 grams. But then if it's amphetamine, you get 2. Now, I don't get the difference. I mean, if I have amphetamines, I can have more. Psilocybin, 2 grams. Acid, 2 milligrams. So it's a sensible, they claim, it's a sensible evidence-based approach to drug policy, and I'm not sure. I just am not sure about that. I advocate cannabis, but I'm also a Christian, and I'm not sure about hard drugs being, I don't know. I don't have any skin in the game, I don't think. Because I don't know enough. Even when they talked about, like, Vancouver, I just know, like, there's declines happening in states where that happens. In Oregon, they say it's crazy once they decrim those drugs. So I don't know. Programming on 95.9 Radio Free Fargo KRFFLP has been underwritten by Drummer's Journey. Drummer's Journey offers percussion instruments, hardware, electronics, accessories, and more. I don't mean that. I can't believe I was going to read the same thing twice. Sorry, guys. Programming on KRFF Radio Free Fargo 95.9 has been underwritten by Flatline Guitar and Lutherie. Flatline Guitar is your full-service guitar shop and your exclusive dealer for Yamaha, Taylor, Paul Reed Smith guitars, and other brands. They sell guitars on consignment, they take trade-ins, and have a full-size service. And have a full-service on-site repair center. Check out Flatline Guitar and Lutherie on Facebook or visit them in person at 1450 25th Street South in Fargo. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 5, closed on the Lord's Day. Now, this next song is going to blow your skirt up and your hair back. So go ahead and get ready. This is The Ghost, John 5, 95.9. Wow, The Ghost, John 5, that's brand new on KRFF 95.9, streaming everywhere, radiofreefargo.org, Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. That's what if you just showed up, that's what you're going to miss. I'm almost done. I'm almost out of here, I swear. I'm almost done. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson every Thursday. After me, Stinky Arts Music Mart, then mixtape, and then a metal show in the evening. One of these days I'll find out the title. But anyway, this show is brought to you by Black Cottage Alchemy. Black Cottage Alchemy on Facebook. 1,200 mgs of CBD, locally grown hemp. Comfrey, colloidal, you name it, is also in there to make your outer body happy. Thank you, Black Cottage Alchemy, for sponsoring this show. I believe God created cannabis for us to use as we see fit, especially you veterans. If it works for you, don't let them tell you what to do. Okay, what am I talking about? I don't know. But I worship God every Thursday. What's wrong with me? Every Sunday, Antioch Church, 10 a.m. we do a recovery class. So if that resonates with you, come through, see if we can help you. All right. I probably will go now because I got to do stuff. You know, my life isn't just up here talking. All right. So anyway, educate yourselves on the benefits of cannabis so you can educate others on the benefits of cannabis. I'll be back next Thursday. Be good to yourselves and be good to others. Think of vet if you know one. If you don't, find one. See one wearing a hat. Thank them. Because we wouldn't be where we would be if it wasn't for the selfless bravery of a veteran. All right. I'm out of here then. Judgment Day. David Allen. Oh, peace.